Thank you very much. I would like to reiterate a point that Pasquale has just made. I think it is very important to acknowledge that fiscal rules are primarily political, in the sense that they were handled all those years in the European Union. Italy is a very good case in point. Italy had for, I think, 28 out of 30 years up to the Corona-Krise primary surplus, but it never got off the high debt-to-GDP ratio because there was not enough investment and growth. In Germany, we danced around the debt brake for many years, and I was in a minority position criticizing it. Now there are certainly no limits to armament expenditure, so we see it's a very politicized debate. And if we look, for example, at the whole question of what is a structural and a business cycle component of debt, if you have permanent underinvestment, then of course you have less productive capacity, so the output gap appears smaller. It's like you go to a depressive person and you don't acknowledge anymore when he has a bad day. So I think these are factors we have to keep in mind, and so I want to ask you, whatever one's position is on armament expenditure, that's not here the right committee to discuss that issue, but if you agree that we need larger investment for warfare, wouldn't there be a much better economic case to exempt civil productive investment from deficit criteria, because we might agree that they at least create some additional productive capacity in the future?
Thank you. Yes, of course, there is as the Draghi reports clearly shows, a clear case to be made for extra investment. Also by not, so it not only has to come from the public sector, it's also a clear role for the private sector there. But it's hard to say beforehand whether certain types of investment will indeed lead to, for example, higher growth and higher future welfare. So maybe I can illustrate by saying something about the tradition we have in the Netherlands, where we assess the political platforms, the election platforms of political parties before elections. And of course, they would always like us, the CPB, to look at the long-term effects of their policies, and basically they're also looking for extra growth out of these policies. And then you run into the limits, I think, to be honest, of what economic science can offer, because we can say something also from evidence-based research in the past on the effects of certain types of policies, for example, infrastructure investment. But it's already a lot harder to say something about the effects of, for example, investing in education, what type of education, let alone healthcare and defense. Well, it's clear that all of these things are important. Also, investing in healthcare and in a healthy population clearly has long-run benefits for a country. But in the end, I think it's also you cannot delegate these kind of decisions to economists. I think in the end, it's also up to politicians to decide what they find important and to make the trade-off as is going on at the moment. So how important at this moment is security and defense spending as regard to other types of spending or taxes? It's also should be taken into account. And of course economists can help by pointing out what we know about this, but in the end it will always be also a political debate, as it should be.